Welcome to the ninth module for the Human Resource Management class. The ninth module is on high performance work systems. And so, one of the challenges facing managers today is how to make their organizations into these things that we call high performance work systems. Organizations need to determine what kinds of people fit their needs, locate, train, and motivate these people. And organizations that introduce integrated high performance work systems usually experience increases in productivity and long-term financial performance. Success depends on how well all of the elements work together. So what are some of these elements of high performance work systems? What is a high performance work system? Well, a high performance work system makes full use of resources and opportunities to achieve the organization's goals. Each element of the system must fit well with others in a smoothly functioning whole. And so the people need to work well with the other people, the machines need to work well with the other machines. The whole thing needs to kind of come together the way that an orchestra comes together, rather than hearing separate instruments or separate voices in a choir. We hear just one musical piece. High performance work systems tend to result in increases in productivity and financial success. And in a high performance work system, all of the elements, the people, technology, organizational structure, work together to foster that success. So here are some of the specific elements of high performance work systems. First is organization structure. So by organization structure, we mean the way that the people within the organization fit together into work teams, into departments, and into reporting relationships. Who is who's boss, if you will. The way that organizational structures are usually thought of, usually represented, usually described, is through organizational charts. Organizational charts, at least in the West, are almost always hierarchical. So they're almost always identify, one person at the top who reports to the company's board of directors, then a bunch of, C-suite types that report to that chief executive officer, senior managers who report to those C-suite types, middle managers who report to them. You get the idea. Organizational structure, in the best case, will promote cooperation, will promote learning, and continuous quality improvement. The right people are a key element of any high performance work system. And so it's a critical part of the role of human resources to recruit, select, train, and develop them, and provide performance measures by which they be judged. The methods of measuring that performance and incentive pay and other rewards linked to success. A second element of high performance work systems is the design of the task. How the details of the organization's activities will be grouped, how they'll be organized in terms of sequence and scope, whether they'll be assigned into particular jobs, particular people, or whether they'll be the responsibility of teams. High performance work systems tend to favor teams over individuals for responsibilities. It's just one of the biases that's built into the concept of the high performance work system. And of course, information systems, which is to enable folks within the organization, even people who might be in different departments in different cities with different professions, how to get them to share information with one another, share information widely, so that the whole organization can benefit from the learning that any part of the organization has experienced. The figure that I have here on the screen, in a high performance work system, you see how these elements must work together: structure, test design, etc. I'm not sure that this graphic is particularly helpful, but Noe and the other authors of your textbook think it is, so I've included it here. I think the verbal descriptions probably make more sense, at least they do to me. So in your textbook, Professor Noe and his colleagues identified these 10 conditions that underlie the formation of the formation of high performance work systems. I'll just highlight, a few of them. You're welcome to, obviously, I hope you will read the full descriptions in the textbook. Probably the most important is that uh, the unit of work, right, the unit of how work is done, uh, tends to be more the team than it is the individual. So we don't think of individuals as having jobs, having assignments. Instead, we think of teams of workers as having jobs, having assignments. Uh, Employees are almost always involved in the selection process, and that means the selection process for peers, not just for subordinates. Uh, there's a formal performance feedback mechanism that's feedback both at the team level and the individual level. Rewards and compensation relate to the company's financial performance, the success of the work team in achieving its objectives, and the performance of individual workers as well. And perhaps most importantly, that not only the employees, but the employees working together with all of the company's business processes, work processes, uh, technology, equipment, should be used together in such a way that it encourages maximum flexibility and interaction among employees, so that employees tend in high performance work systems to less often be given, a recipe of this is how you do it exactly this way, do da. Instead, employees and work teams are given desired outcomes, and the team works together with as much flexibility as the manager can provide to get themselves to the best way for them to do it. But the textbook discusses these 10 characteristics in some greater depth, so I encourage you to check that out. So why is it that we see this emphasis on teams being the unit of productivity rather than individuals in high performance work systems? Uh, well, it's because one of the most popular ways to empower employees is to design work so that it's performed by teams. On a work team, employees can bring together various skills and experiences to produce goods or provide services. The organization may charge the team with making decisions, traditionally reserved to managers, hiring team members, planning work schedules. And teamwork and empowerment contribute to high performance when they improve job satisfaction and give the organization fuller use of employees' ideas and experiences and expertise. This concept of learning organizations goes hand in hand with the high performance work system, high performance work team. A learning organization is a firm, a company, an organization that supports lifelong learning by enabling all of its employees to acquire and share knowledge that's relevant to the company's mission. Ultimately, people are the essential ingredients to the learning organization. And so, obviously, there are some industries that just very practically would fit better in this learning organization model than others. They must be committed to learning and willing to share what they've learned. And this slide identifies the key five key characteristics, five key features of the learning organization. That the firm is engaged in continuous learning, knowledge is shared among employees, critical, systemic thinking is widespread. There's a culture in the firm in which learning is rewarded, and employees are valued in and of themselves. In order for the learning organization to achieve at its highest levels, employees must understand the entire work system they participate in, the relationships among the different types of work, the different jobs, the work units, departments, divisions, and the organization as a whole. Continuous learning means that each employee's and each group's ongoing efforts to gather data, gather information, gather wisdom, and apply that to their decisions in the learning organization is central. Employees who continuously learn about their work system are adding to their ability to improve performance. As you know from some of our previous discussions, Training increases employees' value to the organization, and it's part of the role of human resources to help create systems, both face-to-face and electronic systems, for employees to collaborate in the creation, capture, and sharing of knowledge. Also, reward systems can be tied not only to performance objectives, but to knowledge sharing. So it can be part uh, of the firm's broader incentive structures. It's critical for a high performance organization to establish and maintain high ethical standards. Uh, your textbook authors, Noe and others, suggest that the only way to do this is through a written code of ethics. Uh, I think written is right, but I'm not sure that it needs to be a code, right? So a code is a list of rules. Codes have their advantage, particularly codes that are written in the negative, that is, codes that tell us what we ought not to do. Thou shalt not codes, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. Uh, those are nice because those negatively written, those codes that are written in the negative, uh, seem to establish standards that seem to be more intuitively complied with, um, because they tend to require less thought, right? They tell us what not to do, and then the rest of the world is our oyster. Um, but it doesn't need to be a code written in the negative, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a code at all. There's lots of other ways of doing ethics, and we'll discuss some of those others in a later module. But nonetheless, however they go about doing it, organizations and their employees must meet these standards if they are to maintain positive long-term relationships with their work team, with the broader organization, with their customers, with their vendors, with their communities. Ethical behavior is most likely to result from values held by the organization as a whole, and values that most often flow down from the organization's leaders, combined with systems in the firm that promote and create incentives for employees to behave ethically. Ethics is almost always one of the primary concerns of a human resources operation within a firm. Systems that promote ethical behavior like that include such HRM functions as training, uh, employee development, performance management, progressive discipline policies, and probably some others as well that I'm not thinking of right now. A reputation for having high ethical standards can help a company attract workers, can help a company attract customers, can help a company maintain better relationships with vendors, uh, and with workers and customers who share those same standards. Many efforts can be started or supported in the HR office. Creating a climate of trust provides a strong foundation for all kinds of business relationships, including purchasing, labor management, and lots others. People are more likely to trust an organization, a manager, a coworker, an employee, when they see not only evidence of competence and openness and honesty, but also concern for other stakeholders, including their peers in the community, reliability in keeping commitments, and identification with the organization, so that the individual's values will best match up with the values expressed and held by the organization. Within the context of high performance work systems, employee performance is seen as a process, something that develops over time, develops in particular situations with uh, 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 particular strengths and weaknesses, particular stressors and particular benefits, and is informed by the organization's goals. course, beginning with the individual skills and abilities that lead to their behaviors and produce objective results, hopefully the objective results that were intended. Human resource teams can improve their own and their organization's performance by appropriately using technologies, both old technologies and new technologies. Uh, New technologies usually involve automation and collaboration, that is, using equipment and information processing to perform activities that have been performed by people and facilitating electronic communication between people. Doing this allows the human resources to spend their time on more analytical, more productive tasks than the rote tasks that we can easily hand off to technology. Transaction processing in particular refers to computations and calculations that are involved in reviewing and documenting human resource management decisions and practices. It includes documenting decisions and actions associated with employee relocation, for example, training expenses, enrollment in courses, enrollment and benefit plans, and of course can produce summarized information that can be provided for government reporting and for other reporting. Decision support systems are software systems designed to help managers solve problems. Uh, they usually include a what if feature, in other words, a feature that creates scenarios that managers can use to enter different assumptions or data and see how the likely outcomes will change in different scenarios. Expert systems are computer systems that support decision making by incorporating the decision rules used by people who are considered to have expertise in that particular area. The systems help users make decisions by recommending actions based on the decision rules and the information that's put in by users. A standard feature of contemporary human resource information systems is the use of relational databases, usually very large relational databases, which store data in separate files that can be linked by common elements. These common elements are database fields that identify the type of data and then, of course, the data itself. Some commonly used standard fields in virtually all HRIS databases include things like name, social security number, whether the employee is full-time or part-time, what date they were hired, what their job is, what their official title is, their rate of pay, their citizenship or visa status, maybe even their job history, where their job is located, their home mailing address, their date of birth, their emergency contacts, their dependents for benefits information, uh, and all that kind of stuff. And human resource information systems have hundreds to thousands of fields. So don't be overly influenced by the 10 or 12 that I mentioned here. One of the most creative recent developments in human resource information technology is the HR dashboard, which is a display of a series of HR related performance indicators or measures that show the HR department's goals and objectives and the progress toward meeting them. So, a dashboard for a recruiting and selection team might include, the number of open positions, the number of positions filled in the last week, the number of positions that have been vacant for more than 6 months, that kind of stuff. Managers with access to the human resource information system can then look at that dashboard for an easy to scan review of HR performance. The power of a human resource information system to process so much data is making analytical skills a key part of the human resource profession. Organizations are increasingly seeking out HR professionals who can make data-driven decisions and manage these large databases. At its most useful, this involves predictive analytics, that is, using data about past and present conditions and the relationships between factors to forecast what might happen in the future if a particular decision is made. Similarly, this same type of analysis can be used in labor forecasting in predicting when particular types of workers will be needed and what type of skills they'll have and what we think our staffing will be at that time. and that kind of stuff. A human resource management audit is a formal, usually periodic review of the outcomes of a firm's human resource management functions based on identifying key HRM functions, uh, metrics, that is, measures for how particular business processes can be operationalized, measured, and evaluated. To conduct the audit, the HR department identifies key functions and the key measures of business performance and customer satisfaction that would indicate each function is succeeding. The audit may also look at other measures associated with successful management of HR. For instance, compliance with EEO laws, succession planning, maintaining a safe work environment, and positive labor relations. Human resource management audit using customer satisfaction measures supports the customer-oriented approach to human resource management, and typically involves surveys or interviews with some of the HR department's key internal clients. So on the previous slide, I mentioned the HR department's internal clients or internal customers. Uh, and so, what does that mean? What does it mean that the HR department has internal customers? Well, the customers for the human resource department are line managers, strategic planners, um, individual employees, executives who might need reporting, and that kind of stuff. In recent years, human resource management in many organizations has responded to the quest for total quality management by taking this customer oriented approach. Taking this approach, human resource management defines its customer groups, identifies their needs, and then the activities that the HR department will need to engage in order to meet those needs. There's actually a table in chapter 9 of the textbook that lays out some of these data. Uh, and these definitions give an organization a basis for defining its goals, and then also for figuring out how, to what extent it's been successful in achieving those goals. Finally, for Module 9, here are three examples of different families of ways of approaching how to measure the success of human resource management programs. One is HR analytics, which is a type of assessment of human resource effectiveness that involves determining the impact of, or the actual financial cost and benefits of, a program or practice. The analysis can take an economic approach that measures the dollar value of the program's costs and benefits. We usually call this like a return on investment kind of analysis. It also enables companies to find more ways than ever to identify practices associated with greater efficiency and greater effectiveness. Finally, because internal communication is very often one of the broad responsibilities that human resource departments are tasked with, doing something like an organizational network analysis to simply measure how communication happens within the firm, how it happens, when it happens, how often it happens. Something like that could be useful in measuring some of the softer skills that HR is responsible for.